All right, welcome everybody to another episode of SJG Perspective. In this live stream, I want to talk about what's going on in Venezuela right now. And if you guys watched any of my videos, some of them, you can go back. I put a video out right after Christmas about what was going on in Venezuela and how they were going away from the petrodollar. And in that, I mentioned how they've been on our radar for the last several years, and how we have been demonizing them in the United States. And this video, I don't want to. It's not about defending Maduro or saying he's a good guy or defending socialism, because I by no means will defend the political ideology of socialism. That's not what this is about. This is about how I knew we were going to do something, and we were going to ramp it up pretty considerably, with the simple fact that they had said, roughly a year ago, and have been saying this whole time that they're moving away from the petrodollar. They're sitting on one of the world's largest oil reserves, and we have been interfering and trying to keep a grasp on that country for many, many, many years. Not way before even Trump was in office. This isn't just a Trump thing. And we have wanted to keep them under our thumb because they're a huge producer of oil. So again, this isn't about their political ideologies of socialism, and we could debate and argue why their economy is in the ruins and in the complete shitter, and it does have a lot to do with their socialist policies, but it also has to do, I believe, with the way we've been kind of some of the financial pressures and games we've been playing with them, because they don't want to play by our rules and play ball. And so, like I said in my last video, it was talking about how they are moving away from the petrodollar. And I said in that video, I go, keep your eye on Venezuela, because some stuff's going to go down there. Something's going to happen there. We are not going to let this go unpunished or let this go without issues. And it's been smoldering, and the tinderbox there has been lighting on fire. And as it's all over the news today, the U.S. has came out and said, we do not accept Maduro as a legitimate president. And Guaido is who we are saying we accept as the president. And to me, that blows my mind away with how we have been for the last year and a half. About all you hear on the media is about how Russia allegedly screwed with our elections and interfered in our democracy and interfered in our election and in the affairs of our state, our country, our nation state. And how they actually, it was assault against our sovereignty. They put those bots out, and supposedly Trump and Putin are best buddies, which makes a whole lot of sense right now, right? Because Trump is Putin, allegedly he's Putin's little dog on a leash, right? Or poodle, I guess you could say. And yet Venezuela and Russia are good buddies, and they've been working on some agreements and some business relations and whatnot. So how would it make sense that if Trump was controlling, or if Putin was controlling Trump, he would be okay with Trump now causing such a shitstorm in Venezuela? And because it isn't the case. But more importantly, the point of this stream, or the point of me bringing this up, is the fact that we cry and we bitch and we moan and we say all these things we have to say about how dare Russia interfere in our sovereign elections and in our democracy and try to mess with our country. And I've said it many times before, America has been numero uno, number one offender of screwing with everybody else's democracies or sovereign dealings in their nation states. And if we don't like somebody that's in there, we support their opposition and we create a coup, or we support a coup, and we put the people in place in these countries that we want in there. And whether or not that's a good idea because we're trying to get somebody in that's better for our interests, which I always always think is weird. That's like, well, that's not good for our interests. Well, okay, but why are our interests around the world the only ones that ever matter? Why can't we just focus more on our interests here at home and making sure we're a strong nation and country here at home and worry less about interfering and playing police officer around the whole world? That's the libertarian in me that's like, we need to quit that, man. We need to quit screwing in all the affairs of everybody else. And I am no scholar or on all the issues and all the intricacies of why we do that. And in some cases, maybe it's justified or it's needed. But in this scenario, I'm shocked. And I've been really like, anybody who's watched any of these things when it comes to Trump has known I didn't like Trump for a long time. I was not a Trump supporter. I was glad he got elected over Hillary. But I was just like, during the election cycle, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're about to do this. And that this is really, I thought he was going to get laughed out. I thought it was just a joke from when he was running. And then it became, he actually won. And when he won, I was happy because I was at least happy Hillary wasn't in there. And I was happy because Trump said he didn't want to be getting involved in a bunch of wars. He was going to bring troops home. There was some things he said that I totally agreed with and I was in support of, and I still am in support of him. And I was happy because I didn't think he was going to try to jump us right into some world war or get us into another conflict right away. That remains to be seen. We've came close a couple times and are still coming very close when it comes to China, when it comes to North Korea, when it comes to the Middle East and Iran and all these and Russia. We're knocking on a serious world issue here. A world, I hesitate necessarily to say right out world war, but we are. That's probably, I mean, if we do break into war with any of these major countries, it will turn into a world war, more likely than not. But getting back to Venezuela, it blows me away that we are unabashedly saying we support a guy that didn't win. Whether you agree with Maduro winning or not, which there's many protests right now that are there's a massive protest going on that's in support of Maduro. And him staying in office. But whether or not you agree with the politics or you agree with what's going on there, how is it our place? How is it our place to go in there and say and flagrantly say we don't support you? That'd be like I read in an article earlier today. It'd be like another country saying that nope, we don't think Trump is a valid leader, and we support Pelosi. Pelosi's the new president. She's the one we're going to be doing all of our communications with. We don't accept Trump as your leader. We don't care if he was elected democratically or not. Not to say that Venezuela is a democratic society. Honestly, I don't fully understand how their election cycles work and their electorals work and how people. I'll admit it. I'm not very knowledgeable on that. But I do know that Maduro is the president of Venezuela, and he is, who are we to go in there and say, we are not going to accept you or give you any legitimacy as the president, and we're going to support this guy that was running against you, and we consider him the president now. And then Maduro says, you have 72 hours to get your embassy and to get your consulate and to get your American staff out of Venezuela. And now we're saying, which is scary as hell, Pompey's basically came back and said, no, we're not. We're not going to get him out of there. And if you do anything to him, we will respond with force. That's not going to end well. That is crazy. This is going to turn into a full-fledged civil war that we have our hands in. And I believe it is tied to underline, it is tied to, no one's going to talk about it, but the petrodollar. Venezuela has been trying to get away from the petrodollar for years, and just recently they've ramped it up and said, we're done. We're not using your money anymore to trade. We're not using the petrodollar to trade in oil. We'll use the ruble, we'll use the yen. Is it yuan or yen? Because it's Y-E-N and Y-A-U-A-N, whatever. And the rupiah, Indonesia, we'll use whatever else is strongest, but we're not going to use the petrodollar anymore. Screw you. And they're sitting on the world's largest oil reserves, allegedly. So don't fool yourself that that isn't playing a very strong, that doesn't have a strong point or isn't holding strong roots to the reason why we're so obsessed with deposing the president that was elected there, whether or not, again, he's corrupt and whether or not the election was valid to us. He's the president. It's not our place to get involved, and it's not our place to play police and to push our ideology and what we want on them, to the point that we basically just put our middle finger in the air to them and say, nope, we're not accepting you. To me, that's a bad move on Trump, on our behalf, and on ultimately Trump. And I'm not somebody who hates on Donald Trump. I've been very pleased actually lately, and I just told my wife, you know what, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'm going to vote for him next time. And I'm very pleased with a lot of the things that he's doing. There's a lot of things about him that I actually like. There's a lot of things about him that bug me, and I think that bug a lot of people, just the way just his personality can be so abrasive and just buffoony at times. But I've been like, he's my president. I hope he does a great job. I want him to succeed because that means we all succeed. So I've been behind him. But on this is like Trump, when he was pulling out the troops out of Syria, I was like, everyone was screaming how terrible of an idea that was. And I was like, that's a great idea. I'm so glad he's doing this. And I also said on that, we'll see if it actually happens. You know, I don't know if it's, it remains to be seen if it's actually going to be able to happen or not. But I was all for it. When it comes to this, what the hell are we doing? And talk about, high pot, I'm kettle. I mean, it's like we're bitching and moaning and complaining about how some other nation allegedly interfered in our democratic process and in our election, and then we are just not even trying to hide it. We're not even trying to hide the fact that we're like, we don't support you, Maduro. We support you, the competitor of you, I can't think of the word right now. The other candidate, Guaido, G-A-I-D-O, however you pronounce that, I don't know. And Guaido, I don't know. But to me, that is just absolutely, it's kind of mind-blowing, you know? I mean, you read some of the headlines. Venezuela Maduro cuts off U.S. relations after Trump backs, let me see this. Venezuela Maduro cuts off U.S. relations after Trump backs opposition leader Juan Guaido. Let me do this real quick, too. Yeah, there we go. You know, Maduro broke relations with the U.S. and gave diplomatic personnel 72 hours to leave. Maduro said Maduro didn't have the authority to do it. The U.S. said Maduro didn't have the authority to do it. What are you talking about? He's their president. How does he not have the right to tell us to get out? I mean, this has the potential to go into a serious conflagration, as they call it. Here's another article. Break in U.S.-Venezuela relations raises fresh concerns for oil market and OPEC. Oh, wow, interesting. So oil is being talked about if we break in the relationship with them. So if this break in the relationship means that there's going to be some problems with the oil and the old oil market and OPEC. Well, that was already happening. I mentioned that in that one in my, and I'll put the link up to the video I posted after Christmas talking about this. And at that time, I also talked about how keep your eye on it because there's probably going to be protests. There's probably going to be a big breakdown that happens there. And it definitely is the underlying reason for this, mark my words, is that they're saying, screw you to the petrodollar. And if you don't understand what the petrodollar is, I've explained it in other videos, but a real quick synopsis is, it's an agreement we started with the Saudis back in the 70s when Nixon took us off the gold standard and basically backed our currency with oil. And we basically said to them is that, hey, Saudis, the worst freaking human rights violators in the world. Hey, Saudis, we will protect you, and you only sell your oil in petrodollars, okay? And so you can read all about it and all the intricacies of what that means. I'm not going to go into it right now, but any country that has said we don't want to use the petrodollar anymore, we're going to use our own currency, we're going to create a currency, we're going to trade oil with some other currency, we have gone in and taken them over. You don't believe me? Well, that's what happened in Libya. Gaddafi said he wasn't going to use the petrodollar anymore. He was going to create a gold-backed dinar, and that's how he was going to sell oil. And look what happened to Libya. And in that scenario, it was the same thing. Oh, there was an uprising. The people were uprising against that terrible dictator, Gaddafi. And we need to go in there and help him. Gaddafi, this horrible dictator, is killing people. Man, is this story not getting old? People, wake up. Get away from the Covington Christian school or Catholic school stories and all the way the media continually focuses you on how terrible of a person Trump is. Open your eyes up to what's going on in the world, because there's more going on in the world than what's happening in America and our stupid little problems we're having here. Not that all of them are stupid or that little. But look what's happening in the South China Sea. Look what's happening in the Persian Gulf with Iran. Look what we're doing in Eastern Europe with putting troops all on the border surrounding Russia and demonizing the hell out of Russia. And then you also look at that and you say, well, what's China and Russia doing? Well, back in 2012, China and Russia started working very closely together. And they said, hey, we're going to start creating our own basically ways to conduct business without the dollar and without America. Let's create our own coalitions and our own financial system that doesn't have to rely on America and the American dollar and petrodollar. And ever since then, you've just been seeing China and Russia becoming more and more demonized as the big, terrible, bad, evil empires that we say they are. Now, having said that, I'm not also defending Russia and saying they don't have bad motives or that they're some golden boy, or China. Man, China is terribly authoritarian. And what they're doing to their citizens is disgusting right now. I'm not defending them. What I'm saying is, we have held a tight grip on the petrodollar and making sure it remains the world reserve currency for trading oil, because if that falls apart, our economy completely falls apart, worse than the Great Depression falls apart. And if you don't believe me, do some research on it. Understand how our dependency on people using the petrodollar to buy and sell oil is directly tied to our economic health here in the U.S. And if that goes away, our economy crashes worse than has ever been seen in history. Let me see here. Maduro claims faux Venezuela presidency amid protests. Maduro faux claims Venezuela presidency amid protests. Venezuela crisis quickly escalated Wednesday as an opposition leader backed by the Trump administration declared himself interim president in a direct challenge to the embattled socialist Nicholas Maduro, who retaliated by breaking off relations with the United States, his biggest trade partner. For the past 2 weeks, ever since Maduro took the oath for a second sixth term in the face of widespread international condemnation, the newly invigorated, and like I said, we can condemn it all we want, but you know what? Until he starts absolutely slaughtering people in the street and hanging people up in the trees and cutting people's heads off, and there's an absolute, undeniable humanitarian crisis. Now, granted, there's a humanitarian crisis with their economy, but truth be known, and I don't know all the ins and outs of this, but I wonder how much we have had influence on that. I bet you our fingerprints are on that too, so that we can help create some help create and foment some unrest. And I'm not gonna hang my I'm not gonna hang everything I say on that, because I don't know all the intricacies. I think that his socialist government and the corruption in his government has probably played a very big role in how terrible their country's doing. But does that mean then we have to go in because their economy's bad, and we have to say, we don't accept you're an illegitimate president, and we're going to accept your, the foe of you, that we're going to accept the person that was running against you as president? How are we allowed to say that to them? That's what blows my mind, and I don't get with all this. But it's interesting to keep our eyes on this and to understand what's going on there, and how it definitely is tied to more than what we're being told it's tied to. Getting back to other countries that we invaded when they were going to step away from the petrodollar. Iraq. Saddam Hussein was going to try to get away from the petrodollar way back when, back in the 2000s, right after 9/11. He was trying to get away. He'd been for a while trying to get away from that. We go into Iraq. We went to Iraq because of 9/11. They didn't have anything to do with 9/11. That's proof. Well, we went in there because of weapons of mass destruction. They didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. That's been proven. And well, in Kuwait, they were killing babies. Oh, that was all a big psyop. That actually never happened. And that person that was that one girl that was on the screen crying, saying that she saw the Iraqi government killing babies. And was that before Kuwait, or was that before we went in with Bush? Was that Bush 1 or Bush 2? Bush Senior or Junior? I don't remember. But there's been a lot of false flags and falsified reasons for us to go in to these countries. But it's always interesting because the underlying point on a lot of these is because it has something to do with the petrodollar or the flow of oil or the flow of resources and other countries not wanting to play ball with us. And Syria, there's also a lot of, you can look on my video when I say Trump was, I was proud Trump was pulling the troops out of Syria. There was a lot of reasons we were in Syria had to do with oil. Some people have tried to debunk that, but it doesn't hold water. That the pipeline that was wanting to be pushed through Syria that Assad said no to. So just be aware that the story you're getting here and what's unfolding right before our eyes is not a good thing. And who the hell are we to say one president is legitimate and one candidate or one leader is legitimate because we say so, and the elected one, rightfully or wrongfully so, the elected president, we don't accept you anymore. And he says, get out, and we say, no, we're not going to do it. And if you do anything to us, we will respond with, we'll respond in turn to. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. We'll respond in turn as if you do anything to us. It's pretty crazy what's going on there right now. So anyway, I think that's probably all for now that I really wanted to say or talk about. But if you like what I'm trying to do, and if you like what I'm trying to do here, and you like some of the content I'm putting up, please subscribe, like the video, and until next time, it's SJG Perspective, and I hope you guys have a great night. Talk to you later. Bye.